Like the level tool, the grid tool is in datum panel on the ribbon and belongs to the group of reference tools. As I mentioned in the previous movie, levels describe horizontal planes, therefore we can only draw them on elevation and section views. Grids define horizontal and vertical reference as well, so the tool is activated in plan views and elevations as well. As you can see in the project, there are already two grids, 1 and A, that are from the template. These grids have been pinned with the pin tool, so we can't move them. In fact, the grids are elements of the building model that I recommend you to pin after draw them all. The pin tool does not allow you to accidentally move the grids while working on the other elements of the project, which I know from experience that might happen quite often. If you will need to move any of it, no problem, you can unpin it at any time and change it, but you will do it consciously. Let's go to the ribbon, Architecture tab, select the Grids tool, the ribbon change into the Context Modify tab, and on the right side there are tools for drawing the grid. We have line, arc, pick lines, or even multi-segment. The most common way is line, so let's select it and start drawing a new vertical grid from the bottom. As you can see, Revit allows us to draw grids at any angle you want, but for our training model I need vertical and horizontal grids, so I will simply draw a vertical grid. The grid name is automatically and it is a letter B. Let's draw another grid, so I will click escape to accept my grid and draw another C and the same with D. Let's set their dimension. Select the big grid, edit temporary dimension by clicking on it to 417.5. Select the C grid and change the temporary dimension to 420 from B grid. Depend on which grid we select, we change the selected one, as you can see. So let's select the grid and change it to 350. Now let's practice another way of drawing grids and choose once again to grid, but I will change it for pick lines now and set the offset to 420, where I can now see that my new grid will be on the right side of the grid and it's in the offset of 420. We have new grid E and the same, set the offset one more time to 350. Now let's draw some more grid. We are still in the grid drawing tool. I will pick line and the grid is not drawn on the plate of the mouse cursor, only in the offset we had set before. I will use escape key and choose grid and set offset to 0 one more time, and now we can go back to drawing our next grid, G. Well, let's select them with region and use copy tool, and I will copy them. So I have 10 grids from A to J. The automatization of naming our grids is alright. Now I will add a dimension line for these grids by selecting from quick access toolbar align dimension and point on all grids one by one. And to finish my dimension, I will click in empty space. My temporary dimension, as you can see, disappears because I have this dimension line added by myself, and I will change it for, I can change location of my grids by using this dimension line. So I have selected G grid, and 490 I will change it to 420. H grid, now I will select H grid and change it to 400. I should be 417, and J, the last one, it's 295. Now let's draw the horizontal grid starting from the right side. So I will go to the ribbon, choose grid, line, I can check offset, is it okay? And starting from the right side, I will draw another grid. And as you can see, the exit names are still created automatically, and this is not what I need. So it's K, is another letter from J alphabet, but my grids, my horizontal grids are the numbers, so I will click on the bubble of my grid and change it from K to 2. So click on the empty space. I will click escape and go to the grid tool one more time and draw another grid from right to left, and as you can see, the automatization of naming of my grids in Revit is now correct, is 3. Since we already discussing the naming of the grids, I would like to show you one more thing. So let's delete grid 3. I select the grids, delete from the ribbon, and draw it one more time. Grid, and as you can see, the name of the grid is 4. Even though we deleted grid 3, Revit hasn't included it in the naming, so we need to rename it one more time to grid 3 to keep our order of naming for another grid, and draw another grid which name is automatically 4, so it's already correct. If you keep an eye on the names when you draw the grids, it will save you a lot of time renaming all grids afterwards. Now let's set the dimension for the horizontal grid by using temporary dimension like previous. So 1 is set from the template, so I won't move it. I will select 2 and change it to 280 centimeters. Now select the 3 and change temporary dimension to 970 centimeters, and even if we are over our 4-1, I will move it quick on the bottom of our tree and change it to 104 centimeters. Let's add the last grid, number 5, by pick line and offset 126 by select the 4 grid, double escape to accept. As you can see, my grid descriptions like levels are automatically related with each other. So by moving the description of one grid, the description of all grids is moved. The same with another edge of our grid. With second edge, they are all automatically locked. The same if we want to move just one, make it shorter, we have to unlock the padlock and cool point. We can constrain them back today. At the end of work with the grids tool, I select all grids deranged from the lower right corner to the upper left corner and pin them by using pin tool to the given plates. As you can see, pin symbols appear now on all grids and we are not able to move them by accident now.